Hi guys, this is Mrs. Preeby, and we're working on animals and habitats. So the last time we met our friend Rattenborough, and he is right now, where is he? Yeah, he's in his habitat right there. And we learned about different human habitats and how humans can live in a lot of different types of habitats. We also learned about some of our animal friends and what their habitats were. We talked about the bird and his nest, and the frog and how he's an amphibian. He lives both in the water and the land. And then we talked about the Arctic Tundra. Ooh, it looks so cold to me there. Doesn't it look cold? So can you remind me? I kind of forgot what the life was like on the tundra. What kind of things would I see there in that tundra? All right, let's see if we can see some of those pictures to help remind us. And if you look right here above this yellow line, right here, this highlighted line, we talked about how the Arctic is way up there, and we're way down here in North America. So the Arctic is where the North Pole is. Do you know who's in the North Pole? That's right, reindeer. I knew you would remember. So here's our friend Rattenborough, and he looked a little bit hot or cold. Yeah, cold, huh? Hmm. And I see if you look right here, what is that? You know what that feels like on a nice cold day. And we talked about how there were no trees back here. Look, there's no trees or anything to stop that wind from blowing. So it's going to make us pretty cold. Then we looked at some of the different animals and how they adapted to living in this cold weather. Here's a herd of caribou right there, or reindeer, right? And we talked about the fur colors, the Arctic fox and the rabbit. They have that white fur so they can blend in with that snow. Right here we talked about the walruses and some of the adaptations these walruses have to help them to survive in this really cold area. Do you remember what the walrus does with these long tusks? Yeah, that's right. He manages to get himself out of the water and up on this ice with that. And we noticed how big around these walruses are. And we were talking about how they have a layer of blubber and fur that helps protect them from being so cold. We learned a lot. Oh, and the polar bear. He seemed to be some of our favorite. We kind of really enjoyed that polar bear. And he has to stay warm too, right? Today, Rattenborough told us he was going to take us someplace a little bit warmer, that he was freezing his whiskers off, remember? So he wanted to take us someplace a lot warmer. Who can tell me, what do you think this is? Yeah, this is the desert. We've seen the desert a few times already. But Rattenborough, do you think he's going to warm up nicely in this desert, or is he going to stay cold? Yeah, he's probably going to warm up here, right? So, can you describe what you're seeing in this picture? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you were talking about this big ripple right here and the sand. Maybe you mentioned this little bits of grass. Right here, no trees. Do you think that with less trees there might be more wind? I think there probably would be. And I noticed that I don't see big lakes or anything. Do you see any lakes anywhere? No. These deserts are pretty dry, aren't they? And it looks pretty sandy right there to me. Does it look sandy to you? Yeah. What kind of animals do you think might live here in this desert? Do you think there's any? I don't know. Do you think Rattenbarrow's going to be alone out there in the desert? That would be scary. Let's see if he finds a friend or two. How do you think the animals that live in the desert might be different from the animals in the Arctic? Do you think that those Arctic animals could live in the desert? I don't know about that. So deserts can be found in many different regions of the world. Today you're going to hear about a particular desert that is located in the northwestern part of Mexico and the southwestern part of the United States. in part of the states of Arizona and California. So if we look right here, it's going to be this yellow part right here. And right here is Mexico. We've talked a lot of times about Mexico. And if you look right here, this mitten-shaped state, that's Michigan, way up there. I know it's hard to see on this map. I'm going to try to make it really big for you so you can see it a little better. Can you remember what continent this is? If you can't remember, it's written right here in the words that say North America. So this is all part of North America. Remember, that's where we live. So you're going to listen today to find out more about the Sonoran Desert and how animals have adapted to living there. I have a special reader for you. We talked a lot about my son Jason, and today he's going to read the story for you. Excited? I'm excited for him to read that story.
After nearly freezing and almost becoming a polar bear snack in the Arctic, I thought we should go somewhere where my whiskers and tail could thaw out and warm up. So I've brought you to the desert. There are many deserts all over the world. You know you're in a desert when it doesn't rain very much, and many deserts can also be very hot. Because it's so hot and dry, only certain types of plants and animals can live there. Welcome to the Sonoran Desert in the southwestern part of the United States and the northwestern part of New Mexico. The temperature is quite hot during the day, and it doesn't rain very much. The heat and lack of rain make it hard for some plants and animals to live in the desert. They must all be specially adapted to live in hot weather and survive it with very little rain. How do they do it? Some plants can save and store water inside of their plant parts when it does rain. Other plants grow only in shady areas near mountains or rocks. Because there are very few plants that can be used as shelter, the animals that have adapted to living in the desert often seek shelter underground and make their homes under the sand. Living underground helps them stay cool when it gets hot and keeps them hidden from other animals that might want to eat them for lunch. Ouch! What did I walk into? Aha! Here's one plant that lives in the Sonoran Desert. The Saguaro Cactus is the world's largest cactus. Cacti doesn't have any leaves. They have prickly spines instead, which is exactly why it hurts so much to touch this one. The word cacti is the plural for cactus. One cactus, but many cacti. The incredible saguaro lives for up to 200 years, and in that time can grow as high as a house and can weigh as much as several cars. The most amazing thing about the saguaro is that it is a habitat in itself. That's right. Not only does it manage to live and thrive in the desert habitat, but just by being there, it provides food, water, and shelter to many different animals. Let me get my climbing gear out and some gloves to protect me from these sharp spines, and I'll meet you at the top. You already know that it hardly ever rains in the desert, but when it does, the saguaro cactus saves and stores huge quantities of water in its roots and stems. The cactus saves the extra water and uses it to survive during those times when it is very dry and doesn't rain. In the spring, white flowers grow on the saguaro. At night, when the desert cools down, these flowers open to show sweet nectar, which butterflies, bats, and birds feed on before the flowers close the next day when it once again becomes very hot. In the summer, red fruit begins to grow on the saguaro. Many animals eat the fruit of the cactus. Here is an interesting bird called a Gila Woodpecker. The Gila packs holes into the soft cactus with its beak to make a nest for its eggs. The Gila woodpecker is an omnivore. An omnivore is an animal that eats plants as well as other animals. Gilas feed on cactus fruit and berries as well as insects that have invaded the saguaro. Thankfully, I brought a sandwich, so I won't have to join these Gilas for a buggy lunch. It really is way too hot for a regular rat like me to live here. I'm glad I brought my fan with me. Here, the word fans means an object that is used to move air to make people or things cooler. The word fan can also mean a person who likes or admires someone or something, such as a sports team, in an enthusiastic way. Interestingly enough, birds like this Gila woodpecker can live in the desert habitat because their feathers help protect them from the hot desert sun by trapping in cool air next to their skin. Still, most birds can only go out to feed in the early morning or evening when it's cooler outside. From noon to late afternoon, many of these birds seek shelter in their holes that they have dug in the cactus or other shady places. Here's another bird that makes its home in the saguaro cactus, the elf owl. The elf owl, the world's smallest owl, is only 5 inches long. That's just a bit bigger than one of your hands. It moves into nests that have been abandoned by Gila woodpeckers. When something is abandoned, that means that it has been left for good. The elf owl, like most owls, is nocturnal, which means that it rests during the day and wakes up at night to hunt for food. The elf owl is also a carnivore. A carnivore is an animal that eats only other animals, no plants. It uses its large eyes to hunt in the dark night for bugs that live in the desert. Most owls eat mice and, I'm sad to say this, rats. But I think I'm safe from the elf owl because I'm bigger than it is. Oh look, here comes a desert cottontail rabbit, another animal that lives in the Sonoran Desert. The desert cottontail looks a little like the Arctic hare we saw in the tundra, but has larger ears and longer back legs. What are some ways that the Arctic hare has adapted to the Arctic tundra? Maybe it has smaller ears, white fur to blend in, and larger, wider back feet. Desert cottontail rabbits are herbivores. Herbivores are animals that eat only plants, no animals. The desert cottontail eats grass and even cacti. Smaller animals like the desert cottontail always need to watch out for larger animals in the desert that might eat them. Many animals and plants are part of a cycle called the food chain. You will learn more about the food chain in the next read aloud. Coyotes, for instance, like to eat rabbits. In fact, there's a coyote coming this way, so let's stay up here and watch it. Coyotes are found all over the United States, including the Sonoran Desert. As you can see, the coyote has a light, tan-colored coat to help reflect the sun rays and to camouflage it. To camouflage something means to make it blend in with the surroundings. The color of the coyote's fur blends in with the color of the desert sands that is difficult for other animals to see the coyote in the desert background. Coyotes are carnivores like the elf owls. Coyotes have very good senses of smell, hearing, and vision, and they can also run very fast, which means they are excellent hunters. They are also scavengers. Scavengers are animals that eat meat and waste left by other animals. Coyotes live in dens, which they make by burrowing into the ground. I think this one has smelled something, because he's just run off. Now, I'm getting down from this cactus before another coyote comes along to make me its dinner. It seems like rats are on the menu everywhere I go.
Oh, come on, let's give it for Jason. Give him a big round of applause. Yay. All right. Can you describe the weather and temperature of the Sonoran Desert? Yeah. I'll bet you said that it was dry and hot and not much rain there. Do many plants and animals live in the desert? Why do you think that, or why not? No, I'll bet you said there aren't many there because it's very hot and dry. If you were to give someone directions on how to prepare to spend time in the desert, what would you tell him or her to take for supplies? I'll bet you said that you should have a lot of water, right? Maybe some food and some sunscreen. Maybe even a hat and sunglasses and those kind of things. So how are the Arctic and the Sonoran Desert different? Yeah, the weather is very different, and it is very cold in the Arctic, and the desert is very hot. So, yeah, the ground in the Arctic it has a lot of ice, doesn't it? And the desert, though, it has a lot of sand. How are the Arctic and Sonoran Desert similar? Yeah, one way that the two habitats are similar is that the animals and plants that live in each habitat, they have to adapt to very difficult conditions of each habitat. So there are not many plants or animals in either the Arctic or the desert.